Executive Director of the History Center of Olmsted County. And we wanted to present alternatives to the Spark program in an age of social distancing. So tools and resources that you can access from your home. And so the panelists that we have today for this webinar are Erin Sater-Dahlen, who is Education Program Coordinator at the History Center of Olmsted County. Erin, if you want to give a wave.
Hello.
Erin started our Spark program last year, and so I'll have Erin speak in just a moment about that. Also want to introduce to you Bonnie Sandberg. Bonnie is the Wabasha County Coordinator for Elder Network. She has worked with seniors in various jobs over her 29-year prior career, which is mostly in the chiropractic field. Elder Network is a local 501c3 nonprofit serving primarily 3 counties in southeast Minnesota: Olmsted County, Wabasha, and Winona County. It's based in Rochester, Minnesota. However, their educational offerings and support groups are open to anyone that would like to attend. Elder Network has developed 7 non-medical programs that support seniors and their caregivers. And Bonnie will talk more about those programs and resources in a moment. And then Maren Levad leads the Minnesota Historical Society's access strategy through training, communications, outreach, and programming. So she's an access specialist with the Minnesota Historical Society. Most recently, she oversaw the launch of the international partnership House of Memories, US, a museum-led initiative for people living with dementia and their caregivers. As a member of several community boards, including the Minnesota Access Alliance, she works to create further accessibility throughout the Twin Cities. Okay, so I am going to hand it over now. Erin, would you tell us a little bit about the Spark program at the History Center of Olmsted County?
Absolutely. So I'm going to kind of give you kind of a short overview of what we do at Spark at the History Center. Our program is part of a larger regional program that was started in Wisconsin about 2009 or so. And there is what's called a Spark Alliance. So there's a lot of other organizations that do Spark, primarily in Wisconsin, but now it has branched out to Minnesota. And the History Center is one of those places that offers a Spark program now. And there's also another organization down in Winona at the Minnesota Marine Art Museum that also holds Spark there, and has been a valuable resource for myself to getting our Spark program up off the ground, and now in our second year at the History Center. So basically our program is structured in a way to where there's structure but not structure, because of the flexibility that we want to have when we have our individuals with living with dementia and their care partners come to our program and participate. So every Spark program starts off with roughly around a half hour's worth of social time. So we have coffee and cookies, and we just get to visit with our Spark participants and get to know them better. So that has actually been really fun to get to know a lot of our regular attendees. And then from that half-hour social time, then we go into we'll go into like a music or something along that line that is in line with our theme. So each month we have a theme, and it's a different theme each month. And that provides kind of some basic structure to it, but also makes it something for our Spark participants and my Spark volunteers and myself, something to look forward to from month to month when we're doing Spark. So it could be from doing like a sing-along. We usually do some crafts that's related to the Spark theme. And then because we are a history center, I try to work with our exhibit department that will try to incorporate some kind of hands-on or kind of visual kind of proponents to it that will take us into our history museum and be able to show and incorporate what we have for our 3D objects and things of that nature for our Spark program. And our Spark program usually lasts about hour and a half, and not any longer than that. It sometimes will last 90 minutes because we like to talk and be able to interact with each other, and we have usually such a fun time doing it that it ends up being 90 minutes, but we try to keep it about a 60-minute program. And it's free. We have a very generous sponsor who supports our program, and also that particular sponsor also is provides kind of a Spark volunteer who helps with our program as well. So it works out really well for what we do at the History Center.
Aaron, could you just say who the sponsor and the volunteer is? Because they've been really helpful, and they have a vested interest in really growing the program.
Oh, sure. So our sponsor for the program is Madonna Community Living, and my particular volunteer, her name is Pam Mensink, and she works at the Madonna Meadows, which is actually right across from the History Center, and she's been very supportive of our program, and has been a really good liaison between the History Center and the organization that she works for.
Great. And just a reminder, if we have any questions for any of the speakers, panelists, we can at the end ask questions and have a conversation if we'd like to. But now I'd like to introduce Bonnie from Elder Network. And by the way, I should have mentioned I'm a board member of Elder Network, which is really exciting. I think it's a terrific, great grassroots nonprofit, and they offer some terrific resources. So I thought it was a natural fit for this conversation. Bonnie?
Awesome. Thank you, Wayne. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to highlight some of the things that we do. Elder Network has been around for about 30 years. We've been servicing Wabasha, Winona, and Olmsted counties. We kind of base all of our programs on improving the quality of life for our seniors. You know, we all hope to age in place. We all hope to live independently, healthy, and strong until the day we die. But for most people, that doesn't happen. So what we're out to do is we are out to all phases of life. We have people in care centers, in senior housing, and independent living, just try to make their lives a little bit better quality. So that's the bottom line of everything we do. We start with volunteers that go in visiting. Loneliness and isolation leads to depression, as we all know recently. And that's really bad for our seniors' health. In fact, they say it's worse than them smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So that's a pretty daunting statistic. But we are able to bring volunteers into their homes when we're not all quarantined, and give them a little something to look forward to. It gives families peace of mind, because like me, when I'm away from my parents, if I know they have visitors or family going in, I'm really happy. I know that they're happy, they have something to look forward to, but for me, it's the welfare that somebody is checking on them and they visually are seeing that they're okay. So I like that. And then if you think about it, a lot of these people were very active in their communities. And now, because of things beyond their control, they are isolated and they're cut off from their community. So if you bring in a visitor from their area, you're able to kind of have a hand back into the community. And that seems to be a win-win for everybody. We have companion staff that will help when somebody is faltering to stay in their home, just the daily tasks they are unable to do like they used to do. We can go in and we can provide some help. We can provide light housekeeping, errands, groceries, organizing, pet care, you name it. We can go in and help them to be able to stay in their homes. That's really important to most people. They say 80% of people want to age in place at home. So that's another need we meet. We take care of our caregivers because they are needy. They don't know it because they're usually not taking care of themselves, but they usually are neglecting themselves for their loved one. And they're taking very good care of that person. So we go in and we can provide one-on-one coaching. We have support groups for them. We can give respite care, which means that maybe they have the freedom to go when we're not under quarantine. They can have the freedom to go get a haircut or go out to lunch with someone, and that fills their tank, and then they're able to go back to their tasks feeling much better about life and typically having a better mood or attitude, and it keeps them healthy too. That gives them the freedom to go take care of themselves like they should too. So that's another program we have. We offer a transportation program in Olmsted County. I see Holly's on here, and she's the head of that for Elder Network, which we're very appreciative of. That's a thriving program for us. We have senior advocates. They are kind of the backbone of our agency. They help people troubleshoot. They help with paperwork. They're able to go into situations of transition and make plans and help them see them through, make connections with those people. They're just a wealth of information and help to us as coordinators and to our clients. And I think I've covered most of what we do, but if you'd like more information, please go to www.elder-network.org, reach out to us, and we would love to be able to tell you more, answer your questions, or help you out. And check the website, because we're always trying to do new things. You know, in this new normal, we're trying to figure out how we can still meet needs and keep people safe. So that's a big thing to us. So keep checking our website and just let us know you're out there. That'd be awesome. Thank you. And Maren, I am all ears because I have a father who has mild cognitive impairment, and I'm super excited to hear what you have to share with us today. Thanks.
Sorry, I spend all of my time on Google Meet, and the shortcuts don't work the same on Zoom. So thank you so much, Bonnie and Aaron. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because I want to walk you through a little bit of the app. And since we're not in the same room together, we're going to do it this way instead. So, nope, that's not what I want to do. I want to present. Okay. So I am Maren Levad, and I work at the Minnesota Historical Society. And I'm here to talk to you about the House of Memories project. So just before we get started, for those of you who don't know, the Minnesota Historical Society is the state historical society. And we oversee 26 sites around the state. Some you might know, like the Split Rock Lighthouse, Charles Lindbergh's childhood home, Jeffers petroglyphs, and then several within the metro area, like James J. Hill, the Minnesota History Center, the state capitol, that sort of thing. So about 5 years ago, we started working towards launching House of Memories, which is a museum-led dementia awareness program, which offers training, access to resource, and museum-based activities to enable care partners to provide person-centered care for people living with dementia. Fabulous. What does that even mean, Maren? Okay, So we started with a Spark program. So just like Aaron talked about, we also had a Spark program that has evolved. But museum-based activities is where a lot of us start. So we have baking workshops in our 1950s Betty Crocker test kitchen, where we invite those with dementia and their care partners back into the kitchen using Montessori methods, where people can opt into the activity at whatever level they feel comfortable. So they can do the whole recipe, they can just mix the wet and dry, they can taste, they can talk, they can share stories. And so that's one of our Spark programs. And then we run another one at the James J. Hill House. And so that's all well and good. We're really proud of these programs. They've been a real important part of our accessibility programming. But the reality is we're a statewide organization, and we really heard from our constituents time and time again, what if we don't live near your museums? Or really what we need is an activity or help when we have 15 minutes and our mom is asking the same question over and over and we're trying to get dinner on the table. Or when my grandchild goes and visits my dad in the assisted living center and they just look at each other because they don't know what to say. How can you help us in those situations? And so we partnered with the National Museums Liverpool that had just launched an app called My House of Memories, that is a collections-based conversation app. It was designed by and for people with dementia, which is very important, and we'll get to that in a moment. And we spent several years testing, piloting, talking to the community to create the US version of the app. So this app is free to download. It is an app. So what's important to note is this cannot be used on a desktop computer. You have to have a smartphone or a tablet like an iPad or something that runs on Google Play. But if you have a smart device, you can download this from the App Store or Google Play Store for free. And it is a great kind of guiding conversation opportunity. So when you download it, I'm going to walk you, I'll get you there. So just so you know, there's about 346 objects from the Minnesota Historical Society collection that were each and every one tested over 2 years with people within the dementia community from all over the state, from rural and urban, from different cultural groups. And it shows stuff from all different collections, from newspaper collections, 3D collections, signage, music, what have you. And so when you go in to download it, the first thing that you'll see is it will ask you to select a country. I'm guessing that you're gonna press the United States button because that is where most of us are from. And then it will come to this main screen. The first thing you have to do, and the only time you have to be on Wi-Fi for this app, is this very first application. On the left side of the screen, you will see a big button that says Add Museum Objects. You need to add the objects into the app, and then you never have to be on Wi-Fi again, which is very key. As you'll note, there's 6 buttons. This is, again, because it was designed by and for people with dementia. You cannot swipe on this app. You cannot pinch to make things larger or smaller. It is meant to be used by people who are not digital natives. So there's big buttons that you press. So in this section, you would press the Add Museum Objects, and you would come to this screen. And these are what I call our baseball packs. So each one has a different category. You just go into them, say you press Work and Play. It brings you to this screen, and you hit the Download Now button. It usually takes about 30 seconds to 60 seconds to download the objects. And you go through each of the sections, and once you've downloaded them all, there are check marks, and then you're done. And you hit that back button, and you go back to your main screen. So again, on the main screen, on the left side of the screen, you will see Add Museum Objects. There's a whole section about dementia. If you're new to dementia, if you need resources, if you don't know about communication techniques, that sort of thing, you'll find it there. Otherwise, the point of this whole story is that museum memories. There's another big button that says My Museum, My Memories. You can absolutely add your own photos into photo albums here, but we're gonna really focus on pressing that big button, Museum Memories. So in the Museum Memories, as I said, designed by and for people with dementia, you're gonna get a randomized selection of 5 objects. And every time you press another object, so say you press that one-room schoolhouse down at the bottom, that's gonna become the size of what the lunchbox is. And then the other 4 around it will change and randomize. The reason it randomizes like this is because we tend to put our loved ones in a box and think to ourselves, well, my mom only likes to talk about gardens, so I only want to look at pictures of gardens. And that really shrinks the opportunity for creativity, for connection and engagement. You never know what will spark someone with dementia. And so we want to make sure that we're offering lots of different opportunities. If you do want to search by category, you can go to the search button on the bottom right, but that's not something that we really advocate because we really want to encourage you to explore this together. So say your loved one is like, oh, that's an interesting lunchbox. You press it with your finger and it gets bigger. Now again, designed by and for people with dementia, there's 4 things you can do. You can just look at it and talk about what you see. You can press that hint button and it will give you a short hint in case you're working with someone with aphasia or post-stroke that might have difficulty with words, but they want to get the word. With dementia, I usually don't. With people with dementia, I don't usually hit the hint button. The close button, you'll see it's starting to wiggle. The people with dementia who designed this app made the decision that they wanted to make sure that after like 10, 20 seconds on a screen, that would start to toggle so that if they're operating it with their loved one, it gives them a hint of how to get out of this screen. Then on the right side, you're gonna see info. If you press the info button, what you're gonna get is some supporting images that you can click and they'll get bigger, as well as a very, very shortly worded description. Now, there is options in the app where it will read it to you if you no longer read, or you can have your loved one read it. This one specifically says, this style of sheet iron lunchbox with a rounded lid was designed to fit a thermos flask in it. What did you carry your lunch in? So we generally have an engaging question at the end of most of these objects. Another thing that tends to happen is when you go to this screen, there's often a sound effect, not for lunchboxes, but for lots of like the one-room schoolhouse, you'll hear a bell ringing. For the Beatles, you'll hear some rock and roll music. That also helps kind of trigger conversation and memory. If someone really jams on this image, you can add it to their box or tree, depending on how you set it up, what they want. And then it will save all the objects and you can save individuals' trees. So this is Maren's fun. You can have 50 trees saved on this app if you have 50 people in your assisted living center that you can go back. You can hit that play button and it will play a slideshow of the images they liked. You can export their images as a PDF to share with family members who might not be local or with you. And that's, again, I wanted to make sure you knew that you could search by category. The thing about this app is it's meant to be a help in engaging people in conversation. And objects have a really amazing power to do that. And what we hope is that this app is a tool to start getting you thinking about how do you ask those open-ended questions? What kind of things might you have around the house that could also start conversations or do activities with? And those that information on how to do that is on that left side of that main screen again. But really, it's just, the reality is we all have stuff around our house, museums more than most, but that you can use to spark conversation that doesn't have to be based in the past. With dementia, we really want to make sure that there are, on the top right of the screen here, you'll see a hand crank ice cream maker. And a great question is, do you prefer ice cream or popsicles? Or what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? On the right, you'll see a picture of a man fishing in a fall foliage. So you could just ask someone to describe what they see. You could say, how does this picture make you feel? You could ask if they like fishing. You could say, this season is fall. What's your favorite season? You could put on sound effects that sound like the water lapping, that sort of thing. I can't tell you how long I can run an entire day conversation around lunch. There's so much to say about lunch, everyone. How do you cut your sandwiches? What's the best sandwich? What did you carry your lunchbox in? All of these things are great questions. If you have an old is in the center of the screen, you'll see a Betty Crocker's Pie and Pastry Cookbook. Old cookbooks are such amazing ways to spend time and reminisce, to enjoy conversation, to have a laugh, because old cookbooks are really a great cookbooks, as well as like Sears catalogs. You'll see fashion, you'll see different color combinations, you'll see some really wild food recommendations and pie fixings. You might have holiday decorations. Here on the left, we see an adorable picture of two kids and their jack-o'-lantern. Holidays are a great thing. Have Christmas in July, celebrate different seasons. All really great things that hopefully this app can encourage you to move beyond the app. Really quickly, I want to just make sure that we have our website, mnhs.org/House of Memories. At the bottom of that page, you'll see about the app, and you can click to download from Google Play or the App Store. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about all of these different opportunities, but I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just say the app is a great jumping off point, but I can't stress enough about the importance of a high technology, low technology engagement strategy. I think if any of you have been like I have on Zoom meetings for 8 hours, it's exhausting. You don't actually feel like you're connecting with people after 8 hours. And so what's really important is, how do we figure out how to take great high technology and combine it with low technology things? So a great example of that, let me just turn her on here. I don't know if you guys are familiar with robot cats. I love my robot cat. So you can probably hear her purring. These are made by, oh my gosh, who are they made by? I know, I don't remember. They're called Joy for All Pets, but I bring them with on all my dementia programs. There are cats and their dogs. They're $100, but they're a good snuggle friend if you miss a pet but can't take care of one anymore. This is a great combination of technology that also involves tactile engagement. So as an example, I'm going to turn her off because otherwise she's going to purr forever. Right now, museums are doing so much great stuff. So you could, there's a Animal Farm Foundation out of New York called Pets, that's doing it Pets Together. You can sign up for one-on-one virtual hangouts with a farm animal. What a great way to engage one-on-one. The tourist industry, we working in the aging industry have a long time recommended, calm, gentle, not narrative-based for people with dementia travel logs. Well, now Airbnb is offering online classes and experiences because they're not making money with people visiting. So there are all these tour guides that don't have anything to do. So you can go on Airbnb online experiences. This one does cost money. It's not a lot, but it is the only thing I'm going to recommend that isn't free. So you could do a wine tasting with a tour guide in Barcelona. You could do a magic show with a magic with a magician in the UK. You can do a sound bath relaxation with a tour guide in Japan. You can do forest bathing in Norway. And it's generally a small group of people on Zoom, and you pay your admission, and then it's a live interactive class with these people who are professional tour guides. And that's an amazing way to do kind of like a connection, and a great thing to do if you are, say, doing the wine tour. Then you buy a bottle of wine and you have it with them. Or if you are doing magic, just have a deck of cards. People with dementia still like to hold the objects that they might be using. They might not be able to do the magic, but they can certainly still connect with that tangible object. If you're doing sound bath, maybe you light a candle, or maybe if you're doing the nature walk, you pick a couple sprigs of evergreens around or flowers to kind of lay in front of them. So you're doing that high-low mix. Beyond that, I mean, everybody's stuck at home. So there are, if you just Google like, hey, my loved one, again, we're focused on person-centered. So you're going to say, my loved one is obsessed with, I don't know, Georgia O'Keeffe. I guarantee you there's a Georgia O'Keeffe exhibit or online tour or what have you online. My loved one loves jellyfish. Hey, guess what? There are live jellyfish cams at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Or my loved one really likes sea otters. Okay, well, the Monterey Bay Aquarium does live feedings where they talk to the camera at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every day. So you can see them be fed. Just think about what are the things that are engaging. The other few dementia-specific programs that are out there that I'm going to recommend are, of course, time slips. If you're familiar with time slips, they do great work. They've really started to pivot in this time. So they do a weekly webinar for those of us who are in the field with ideas about connecting during COVID. But they also online have beautiful questions. They have story prompts every day that you can go on and do a time slip story with your loved one. Same with the Alzheimer's Poetry Project of Minnesota. Every day they're posting a new poem to share and asking questions that could allow you and your loved one to write a poem. And then finally, Arts and Minds, which is a Spark-like program in Manhattan, has moved all of their museum programs online. And you can join in for a live interactive art and dementia-based program. And that's Arts and Minds. So time slips, Alzheimer's Poetry Project of Minnesota, basically any museum, state park, aquarium, farm in the world is currently doing something online. Online experiences, Airbnb. There is a plethora of things. And if this person that you care for has dementia but is early stage, there's a ton of like board games you can play. You can play Yahtzee very easily, or Farkle. You can play, again, having that tangible dice if you're not with them. You can play lots of different board games. Just Google board games to play online, and there's been a ton of articles about what works, what doesn't. I know we play Pictionary every week. We have trivia. There's online trivia all the time. We play Clue with my mom. So there's lots of different ways that you can engage in this time. And just what I would really encourage is considering that high-low. So use the app, but use that app to then think, okay, what are the things in my house that I can add or supplement? You know, go on that sound bathing experience, but then bring some of it home. My family does every week, we do a different cuisine. And so we choose a country, we maybe watch a travel show about it, and then we make the food. So it's just a really great time to get super creative. I know it's not like you have anything else to do right now except like deal with the world and all of your other things. But if you have a little bit of time to be creative right now, there's a lot of ways to engage with our loved ones that doesn't cost money. So that's me.
Well, that's terrific. Do you have, is there a standard question that you get about the app, or like the top tips for working with it, or maybe it's something you've already mentioned that you want to reinforce about working with that app?
The main ones are that it has to be a smartphone, or, it's an app, so it's not a desktop compatible program. It doesn't have to be on Wi-Fi once you download the objects. We really stick to the museum memory section. Some people get a little excited about the ability to upload photos, which you absolutely can do, but that doesn't interact with the museum one. And you can upload pictures to your iPad anyway, so I would just really focus on that museum section. And then the main thing is that it's an engagement tool. It's not a babysitting tool. So it's a great way for intergenerational interactivity to happen, and be open. That's the biggest thing. I think a lot of times people think that they know their loved ones really well and think they know what they'll like. And this app is a great way to experiment and discover, oh my gosh, I had no idea that my aunt was so into square dancing, and suddenly she starts going off on square dancing. And also be really open to the fact that this is not, just because it's from a historical society doesn't mean it's about gaining an oral history from your loved one. It's about having fun. So if your aunt sees a square dancing picture and says, I used to square dance with Bob Hope all the time, cool, tell me about that. I want to know about that. You might know that it's not true, but who cares? We're on our own new reality right now. So just be open to it and be open to creativity as well.
Cool. Well, I'm going to unmute everyone, and since we got a small group, and if anyone has any questions for anybody here, we'll do a free-for-all. I'm unmuting all the participants. So does anybody have a question you want to throw out there?
I'd like to just say this has been marvelous, and I so apologize for coming and going. I had a workman who was supposed to come this morning. Of course, he came right at the time. But thank you all so much. This was so informative. Great.
Good.
Maren, I have a question in regards to, I've never heard of time slips. Is there like a download for that? Or where do you find time slips?
Oh, Holly, you're about to go into like a wonderful world of kindness and love. So Time Slips is a program that was developed by MacArthur Genius Grant Award winner Ann Bastien out of Milwaukee. She's kind of a big deal. And if you go onto timeslips.org, you will find the whole thing. So I'm a Time Slips facilitator. The idea is replacing the pressure to remember with the possibility to imagine. So it's about taking images and creating, so a lot of images that they'll have on there, there might be a picture of a girl talking to a horse. And then the idea is, let's write a story about that. And so Time Slips trains you to ask questions, either in a group or individual setting, and write a creative story about it. And then the goal of Time Slips is that you do this over and over to the point where then you might put on a play about all the stories, or you might, create a mural about the stories you wrote. So it's about celebrating the ability to still be creative no matter what stage of life you're at. And it's specifically for people with dementia. And so if you go on timeslips.org, the other thing that they're really good is they did this thing called Islands of Milwaukee, where they recognized that our world was becoming little islands. And so in Milwaukee, where she's based, she created this series of beautiful questions. They're amazing. You'll find them on the Time Slips website. And they ask really wonderful open-ended questions that really get you thinking. And these beautiful questions would actually get sent out with Meals on Wheels deliveries. And then people could either write a note back, or they could record them on a phone line, and then they were played on Milwaukee Public Radio. So people continued to be involved in the community. And so Beautiful Questions is still something that a lot of us use. I highly recommend it. I've been writing letters to my local care centers and using Beautiful Questions as openers. And so I really recommend Time Slips. If you've never seen Ann Basting speak, she's all over the interwebs. She's amazing and wonderful, but that's what Time Slips is. And there's a whole website on it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
What is her name again?
Yep, it's Anne, A-N-N-E, Bastings, like you're basting a turkey, except with an S.
Okay, thank you.
Who else has a question?
On the app, you said that one button was hints. What, can you elaborate on that? You said you might not want to use that with somebody with dementia.
It's up to them if they want to click it. Let me just see if this works. I'm going to hold it up on my phone. Hold on.
Museum memory.
See, it talks to you. Okay. So you can probably see and hear there was a cereal bowl. And then when I hit the hint button, it says breakfast. So it's a Wheaties box and the hint is breakfast. So the hint is that some people with dementia, depending on where they are in their cognitive journey, are still like, oh, what's that word? And the thing breakfast would be like, oh yeah, cereal. However, if you're further along in your journey, hints are not helpful. Quizzes are not fun when you have dementia. And so oftentimes this app has been used a lot with people with aphasia or who have stroke-based dementia, where words are just kind of, especially with aphasia, there is a possibility they will get that language back. And so the hints are helpful. So it's just for you to make the decision. There's no pressure to remember. It's not like there's a timer and then like a buzzer at the end if you don't get it. But it's just not something that I tend to use with people with dementia because I don't, it's not what the engagement portion for me is about. But if you're early on in dementia, if you have MCI, it might be something that's helpful for you.
Okay, thanks.
Right. Who else has a question? Well, all right. This has been, did you have a question or something to say, Bonnie?
I was just going to say, you said the Airbnb tour guides, is it real cost prohibitive or?
Here, do we have time? I'll share my screen real quick and we can just do a very quick little journey. Okay, Airbnb online experience. So you can just kind of see what the options are. And there's a whole of them. You can see like taste wines with a sommelier is $20. You know, how nice is this? You can do a cocktail hour jazz club with a jazz musician for $16. So like that's not too wild. For like an hour, that's not terrible. Bring the flavors of India to life at home. That's $11 for an hour and a half. So it's not wildly Sake Secrets, that's $10. And then there's more expensive ones that are like Secrets of Hollywood Sound. So that's with an actual Hollywood sound engineer. That's $40. I've actually heard that tour is amazing and very funny, but he does like all the sounds for all the Hollywood movies. But again, you don't have to choose that if you don't want to. If you have $10, you can do Sake Secrets. So yeah, I think there's a good range